Okay, hello guys. So, just wanted to make a quick video on the case of Ceon Broughton. Um, yeah, this black uh, lad that has killed his girlfriend. Now, I would say he's been convicted of manslaughter. He's got 8 years. Um, he'll be out in 4 with good behaviour. That's a miscarriage of justice. It's funny, isn't it, how the justice system in this country seems to be completely biased against anyone that is non-white. They get treated very well, whereas white indigenous Brits are second-class citizen when it comes to the so-called Crown prosecution and Lady Justice. Lady Justice truly is a blind old bat. So, anyway, let's just get on to this case. He was given manslaughter after giving his girlfriend, although she wasn't his girlfriend, she was actually his ex-girlfriend. She dumped him and he was bitter about it, and he knew he was probably never likely to get another nice looking white girl like that because he's an ugly cunt, and most are not as brainwashed as this silly girl was in assuming that he's just the same as everybody else. He's not. He's a criminal, he's a gangster, he's been in prison multiple times. He's a drug dealer. It doesn't matter what he's like when he's being kind. Everyone's nice when they're in a good mood. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, something the papers don't tell you is that they had actually split up. He was quite pushy, so they were still sort of hanging around as friends. This was an act of revenge, and from someone who was clearly an inferior person in more ways than one, and that was his way of getting revenge on her. This is my opinion. So I would say that's a murder. He gave a drug that he knew the dosage. His lawyer said, "Oh, no one's ever died from that drug." Yeah, but what dosage did he give her? He gave her a fucking shit ton of it, right? And he filmed as she was convulsing and, like having fits, or whatever happens if you inject someone with something that strong. It would have been pretty obvious for a Roman. He knew that she was in danger, but he didn't care. It was an act of revenge. He poisoned her, and then he filmed as she was convulsing and dying. He filmed the whole thing, and then he went and called someone after. If, he supplied the poison, he filmed the effects, and then called help in maybe an hour or two after she died. If that's not a straightforward murder, then I don't know what is. And we know if he'd been white, he'd have probably got 14 at a minimum. Could have been 14 to life, no parole. You did this awful thing. But because he's a minority, I thought they were going to let him off completely, which they could have. There were 3 lads who were run over by a Muslim, another idiot that obviously is inferior, and they didn't do anything about that. They've sort of covered it up as an accident. Can you imagine if the driver was white, had a history of the white equivalent of ISIS, which doesn't really exist? You'd have to go back hundreds of years to the Crusade, which is something lefties like to go on about. The Crusades were fucking 500 years ago. And you're telling me that blacks and Arabs were always very well behaved in those times? No, they weren't. They used to torture and kill their enemies. We were the most civilized people even back then. But yeah, so the system is very much a left-wing type deal, and no one can stick their head above the parapets and say what needs to be said, because they'll get fired, and they probably already got people who are blackmailed anyway, so that's how it goes. But honestly, if I was prosecuting, I'd say this was a clear murder, the amount of the drug administered was known to be a lethal dose because he's a dealer and he knew how much that was. Dealers know what they're doing. If you've been dealing for anything more than a few years, you're going to know how powerful these things are. He did it on purpose, and the reason he did it on purpose so brazenly is because he knew that we're soft touch on minorities. I was surprised he even got manslaughter. That might have been down to the dad, who's an establishment type guy. The dad wouldn't even condemn the guy hardly. He sort of said, "Oh well, no winners here" or something. I mean, if it was me, I would have been angry because he's given him 4 years, not 8 years, 4 years. He'll get out in 4. He didn't show any emotion in the pictures. To be honest, all I see is like a very basic set of emotions. So anyway, yeah, that's it.